I'm Keith King from Detroit, Michigan. I served in Vietnam in 1970 as a military police convoy escort up in throughout most all the Central Highlands. For me, exposure to Agent Orange really was never much in question. Because of what I did and where I was, and we'd be going into what, LZs that were being built, base camps where they were spraying Agent Orange, it would be in the air. The thing that we always ask about is what was this stuff, and of course the locals would tell us, the engineers would say, oh, it's a weed killer, don't worry about it. Because it was always a little strange to me that they were spraying it up in the trees. And when I asked them why are a weed killer being in the trees, they said, well, it'll kill anything that'll grow. Oh, okay. And of course then we'd be in a base camp and a helicopter come in and jettisons its tanks. And of course they would get all over you and you would be choking and gagging and what is this? Again, the local guys would love it because it was bug spray. It would kill the bugs for at least a couple of weeks. So to me, it was never a question of was I exposed. It was always a question of what was I exposed to and how much. My son is a Persian Gulf veteran, and he is very active, very athletic, coaches, referee, running constantly. Had his first stroke at 39. Why? I don't know. He doesn't know. No one seems to know why. But when I say to him, you were in the Persian Gulf, you were exposed to the smokes, you were exposed to the burn pits, what injections were you given, what kind of things were you exposed to? He unfortunately is very similar to most of us in the sense of denial. Had nothing to do with it. And yet I am absolutely convinced that he needs to be checked. He needs to be examined. Because to have a stroke at the age of 39 makes absolutely no sense. And if that's something from me, as the father to the son, that's one thing. But if it's because of his exposure, again, as we were exposed during his military service, I'm more concerned about his children and his grandchildren. And that ties me back to my daughter. You're going to hear what my daughter grew up with. But what I want to make the point to you is this. My mother, her grandmother, had 8 sons. Her grandmother on her mother's side, my wife, had 5 children. Her great-grandmothers had 5, 6, 7 children. The great-grandmother had 13 on her paternal side, and then again on the maternal side, they had another 9 children. So there's never been any problem with cancers. There's never been any breast cancer. There's never been any ovary cancers. There's never been any what we would call female problems in both sides of my family as far back as we can go. So when Amy started developing her female issues, it was completely unorthodox. It made absolutely no sense. And unfortunately, that was where we really began to tie in, oh my God, what if this is related to my exposure in Vietnam? And that's why I'm here. As I've said before, and I'll say it to you all in this room, whatever we can do to get this law passed to where they can begin to research the medical research, test me, test my daughter, test my grandchildren. I would love nothing better than to be proven wrong. I hope I haven't passed something to my kids and my grandkids. If I did, then take care of us. If I didn't, good. I don't want to carry any more guilt than I have to, in the sense of possibility giving something to my children that I didn't know I did. If I had that opportunity, if I had known beforehand, at least I could have made that decision. I didn't have that knowledge. But if we do have the opportunity to do it today, I'll just finish it up this way. So far, I've been diagnosed with 5 different cancers. Thankfully, I only have 2 of them. So the other 2, they probably prove I didn't, and the 3rd one they're still arguing with. So I feel pretty good about the fact I only got 2 instead of the 5 that they originally diagnosed me with. So I'm still working through it all. But the fact is that this is part of our legacy and part of our future. And at this point, and introduce my daughter, Amy.
The day I became a mother, I really understood this little thing that I'm holding doesn't have a voice. I am her voice. At least for the next 18 years, I am her voice. Well, now I'm in an opposite situation to where I am not only the voice of myself, both of my daughters, but in the next 5 to 10 years, I'm going to be the voice for my father. Because with his cancer, could be a year, could be 5, it could be 10 years. When he is gone, I am still a voice for him. That weighs so heavy on a heart to know that the things that your father chose to do for his country, for his family, everything that the last 44 years or so, his passions were for his Vietnam veterans, for his other veterans, for his son who's a veteran, and now my oldest daughter, her husband is Army. Thankfully, he's not gone overseas yet, but now we're going generation after generation. My passion will always continue in the voice of my father. And that is why I am here today. Because as we all know, we get older and we go through the colonoscopy and we go through the mammograms, we go through all of these things. My first colonoscopy was around age 12. They did not knock you out and do all of those things. At that time, I had explained before to a group that back in the early 80s, when I went through my first colonoscopy because of the severe issues that I had with my stomach and my colon that I had had since birth, was that I had to lay on a table naked. And all of the nurses in there were men. They did not knock you out. You laid there, and they did what they needed to do. And my mommy and daddy could not be there. And if you can only understand what that's like to be a 12-year-old girl, to be in that situation. Moving on from there,
It's okay.
getting to the point where I had started my cycle, and you have one problem after another. And then they tell you, well, you may not be able to have kids. Well, by God's grace, as I was able to have 2 beautiful daughters. Well, after my second daughter, guess what? Precancerous cells on my cervix. My uterus was collapsing. Age 21, hysterectomy. I'm done. I cannot have any more children, in which of course I wanted. What an amazing experience. By the age of 22 was my first biopsy on a cyst in my breast. And they had said, well, not only do you have them on your right side, you have them on your left. You have one in your lymph node. Thank God, again, it's not cancer. But there's another issue. You need to have a double mastectomy. And I said, you know what? No. No. I'm too young. I am too young. I had a hysterectomy. You're not going to take my breast. I cannot have any more children. No. No. If I have cancer, I'll deal with it then. But I'm too young. I mean, can you imagine by the age of 22? I mean, most people don't even start having children by the age of 22. I was already married with 2 children. So you kind of speed up surgery after surgery. I continued to have cysts and tumors grow throughout my whole body, on the side of my stomach. And then finally, I don't know, 25, 26, they had, you know, when they did my hysterectomy, they did leave my ovaries because they were worried about my bones and the calcium and you know, all the estrogen and things. So finally I had 2 cysts on my left ovary, blew out my ovary, emergency surgery. So here I am left now, just turned 40, and I have been on medication every day for these cysts that are on my right ovary, which is the last ovary I have. I just had my new mammogram done again, and although I have a cyst in the lymph node and another cyst right above it, they say that it's okay for now. We'll redo you in 6 months. So a few years ago, I started having issues with my legs and my arms. Numbness and tingling, severe pain. So I went through all of these different tests, and my whole life I've always heard the same thing: we don't know what's wrong with you. Your tests are inconclusive. Well, go to the neurologist. I do a big panel of testing. Guess what? We don't know what's wrong with you. Let's do more tests. Well, okay. I mean, I've been poked and prodded, and I have tubes anywhere and everywhere in my body. At this point, I'm okay with whatever you need to do, because I need to know what's wrong. Well, guess what? I have MS. So I go to get my first infusion. Well, I have a horrific history of medication allergic reactions. I am highly allergic to hand sanitizer. In my purse, I have to carry my rescue inhaler, because if someone uses hand sanitizer, I go into a respiratory attack. So I go in for my very first infusion. Guess what? Allergic reaction. They sent me right to the ER. So I wasn't doing those anymore. Well, my problems continued. My husband and I decided we need to get another second opinion and figure this out. Go to the next neurologist. Nah, you don't have MS. Yes, you have lesions on your brain. Yes, you have this. Yes, you have this. Yes, you have this. But it's not MS yet. You don't have any ogliconal bands in your spinal cord fluid, they say, but everything else is good for MS, but not that. So we're not going to treat you for that. So in the end, you really don't know what's wrong with me? No, not really. Just neuropathy, which is just a fancy word for pain in your limbs. So go to the third one. Nah, don't think so. I think maybe you could have fibro. And yeah, we see the lesions. Yes, we see this and this and this, but we don't know what's wrong with you still. So you can't give me pain meds because I'm allergic to, I'm allergic to every pain med that they've ever tried. So then they gave me muscle relaxers to help my muscles. I had an allergic reaction, ended up in the hospital. So basically, they don't know why I have the issues that I have, and they can't give me anything because I will break out in hives and have a respiratory attack. So I'm just kind of, settling for now. When it comes to my oldest daughter, who's going on 20, right about the age of puberty is when she started having issues. She started having stomach issues, just as I did. When she started her cycle, she started having the same exact issues that I did. Well, age 14, she started having problems with her knee and her leg on the right side. She called me from the school bus and said, "Mom, I can't walk on my leg. I need you to come and get me." Well, I'm thinking, it's a dramatic 14-year-old girl who's tired, doesn't want to walk home from the bus stop. So I go and get her, doing the right mom thing. Well, she's not kidding. She's literally dragging her leg off of the school bus. So, of course, we go through a lot of time trying to find out what is wrong. No one knows. We finally get to the point, she has a rare neurological disease. And what this disease happens is that it deteriorates her muscles and weakens her bones. Well, fast forwarding now, because she's almost 20, that she still has these issues. She is now on full heart medication now because of the weakness in her heart. The blood vessels in her head continue to restrict. She's on 6 different medications just for her head for the blood vessels. And now she is now wearing 2 hearing aids. So, you know, or hearing aid in both ear now because of the loss. Well, she's married, like I said, to Daniel, who is in the Army. And guess what? They want to start having children. Well, she's been told since the age of 15 she's probably not going to be able to carry a child because the weakness of the muscles, which hold up your uterus, she probably will not be able to have children. So here we go, round 2. It's like me, Junior. So she has been in and out of her wheelchair for many years. And, you know, thankfully, you know, now she's at the point where, you know, she can be up and walk. But what is her future going to be as a mother? Is she ever going to be a mother? Is she ever going to hold that baby boy or baby girl and look down at that baby in those little baby eyes saying, I am the voice of you for the next 18 years? Is she going to have it? Let's move on to my other daughter. My other daughter is going to be 19, 2 babies in a year. Well, she was born not hearing. So 3 months old, she goes into liver failure. So now I have a non-hearing 3-month-old that is, you know, we're trying to determine, do we need to put her on a liver transplant list at 3 months old? So as time progresses, thankfully, they were able to help her liver with medication, all of these different things, but she still couldn't hear. So we were doing baby sign language to her until she was able to get to the point, because obviously I had to bring in a lot of people to help her, you know, speak and walk and all of those different things. So, you know, after about the age 6 or 7, besides the problems that we had with her hearing, we didn't have any more episodes with her liver, thankfully. Well, come 16, she started having problems with her left leg. Neuropathy in the left leg, numbness, tingling, swelling, turning purple, just like her older sister, except it was in the right leg. So these are things that I want you guys to understand, you know, not only the things that I went through, what my girls are going through, what they have been and what they will continue. Because they're 19 and 20, I'm 40. And I'm still having these issues, constantly hearing they don't know what's wrong with me. Well, you know what, who can tell me? And that is why that 1602 is so important, because I need someone to tell me. Because those voices are not going to be heard for much longer. In our society right now, we are all focused on one word. That one word, to me, is recall. Everyone is recalling everything. Okay, for me, this is what a recall is. You have an object that has a part that is broken. That broken part is not letting it function as a whole. So if we recall it, fix it, make it whole again, it's going to work perfect, right? Well, you know what? This is what I ask of you. Recall my dad.
Yeah.
Could you please recall my dad? His kidneys are broke. His lungs are broke. Okay? He has cancer. Recall him. Matter of fact, recall me, because if I could have done a darn recall on my uterus and been able to have more babies, if I could recall both of my daughter's uteruses so they will know what it's like to be a mother and hold a baby, I would recall them. Because you cannot do anything to me that has not been done to me since I've been a child. So that is why I continue to fight and be the voice for myself, for my girls, my dad. So please just understand why this is so important, not only to me, but my family, the other girls up here that are with me. Thank you. Thank you for having me.